Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another informative weekend edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Theodore Henry. Inside these pages, we turn the spotlight on dengue control measures, plus earthquake disaster response. So please stay with us for these and more inspirational features you don't want to miss.
It's time again for the JIS Heritage Essay Competition. Are you a primary school student? Write a 400 to 500 word essay responding to the question, should Jamaica remain under the British monarchy or become a full republic? And win lots of prizes. Visit jis.gov.jm for competition guidelines. Registration is still open. Deadline extended until Sunday, November 5 at midnight. The JIS Heritage Essay Competition 2023. Enter today.
Thanks again for being here. Government recently outlined a multi-stakeholder approach to addressing dengue on the island. We'll now begin our feature segment with a look at the measures being pursued as the government enhances efforts to protect the vulnerable from the current outbreak.
All parishes have recorded dengue cases, with Kingston and St. Andrew reporting the highest number of cases year to date. However, when the cases are assessed by population, St. Thomas, Portland, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine and Hanover have the highest rates. The 15 to 14-year-old age cohort continues to be the most affected. So younger persons. And the explanation for that is that this is the population that is least exposed to this particular strain. Just for public education purposes, there are 4 strains. It must be noted that while Jamaica has seen continuous local transmission and the dengue virus since 1977, the presence of the type 2 strain has not been identified in the population since 2010. So the older population would have been exposed, the younger not so, and they become therefore the most vulnerable because it is a novel strain for them. I'm therefore using the opportunity again to urge parents to exercise vigilance with their children and teens and to take the necessary action to reduce the incidence of dengue among this vulnerable population. I will also say for those with compromised immune systems, including the older population, they should also be careful of the virus. In terms of the mitigation plan, which has already been triggered and spoken about, the Ministry and the regional health authorities have made the necessary preparations for a possible outbreak, and we had spoken about it prior to the outbreak being declared. Since 2019, the government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Health and Wellness, has made significant investments in dengue control program. We have spent over 300 million Jamaican dollars in acquisition of vehicles, fogging machines, and the expansion of a number of staff dedicated to the vector management program. Since declaring the outbreak, the ministry has initiated its dengue outbreak mitigation plan, which has the following components: the search and destroy operations, clinical management, workforce management, surveillance, and public education. The aim of the plan is to reduce the impact of the dengue outbreak on the population. Approximately 500 temporary vector control workers have been engaged and deployed across the island to high-risk communities, along with some 213 permanent workers. An additional 600 temporary workers are now being engaged, so we're actually hiring temporary workers to increase the search and destroy and health education component of the response. Since July 2023, the parish health departments have been engaged in enhanced fogging and treatment of breeding sites. This has resulted in a 7-day extended work week for fogging and other mosquito eradication activities by the team. We are currently addressing the high-risk communities and we remind the members of the public to support fogging exercise and to welcome workers in their communities. On a note of caution, although most persons should not be affected, persons with respiratory or other health challenges are asked to use a damp, wet cloth to cover nose and mouth to avoid any adverse effects during the fogging exercise. We are also working with physicians in health on the treatment protocol for dengue, especially severe dengue. We are examining our inventory of drugs, commodities, and management of blood and blood products. We have launched a number of blood drives just to ensure that we have supplies for those who may need it. The ministry has extended hours for all type 3 to 5 health centers to 8 p.m. This is to facilitate people visiting these facilities to receive treatment and referrals where necessary. At the same time, children under the age of 18 years old who visit the University Hospital of the West Indies will not be charged a fee or be required to pay for services at the facility. Our National Health Emergency Operations Center, as well as the Health Emergency Operations Centers in all parishes, have been activated. These will provide critical surveillance information as well as manage interventions in high-risk areas. The ministry has also developed a public information program that includes targeting messages related to search and destroy action around homes and places that have high density for human interaction, on how to protect children, warning signs for dengue, how to treat dengue, and the types of drugs to be used, and personal responsibility around dengue mitigation in our surroundings. A critical part of our mitigation plan is forging partnerships, and so we are collaborating with agencies and ministries, the Ministry of Education and Youth, the Municipal Corporation, the National Works Agency, Solid Waste Management Authority, the regional teams, and NWA. The regional teams from both my ministry and the Ministry of Education and Youth have met, decided on several actions, including meeting of school principals for greater collaboration, training of school personnel in search and destroy action, and the removal of bulky waste from school properties. Working with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, we have engaged the municipal corporations for the purpose of community-based interventions like drain cleaning, removal of bulky waste, search and destroy operations, and community sensitization. Approximately $96 million have been provided to support mitigation works through the Ministry of Local Government and the municipal corporations. The National Works Agency will coordinate the cleaning of major drains in the high-risk communities, which have been determined by the Vector Unit working with the parish offices, and this will be funded through the National Health Fund to the tune of some $160 million Jamaican. The National Health Fund has also provided $75 million through the National Solid Waste Management Authority for removal of bulky waste, which effectively represents primary breeding sites in communities across the country, and certainly the high-risk communities. I want to remind Jamaicans that dengue is ordinarily a mild disease. Persons get a fever, headache, joint and muscle pains. The illness is often resolved through rest and adequate hydration, along with paracetamol to treat the accompanying fever. However, on occasions, the illness can progress to severe dengue, which can result in organ failure, bleeding, and severe fluid depletion that can lead to shock and, of course, death. Therefore, it is important for persons experiencing fever, vomiting, severe abdominal pain, bleeding under the skin, feeling very weak, or getting confused to seek immediate medical attention. We believe in partnerships, so we are discussing with the private sector and other non-governmental organizations to increase awareness, to garner support for the necessary response to this outbreak. We invite the Jamaican people to join the fight to preserve life and livelihood, to work with themselves in their communities, but also with the authorities around identifying breeding sites and the Aedes aegypti mosquito, and to play their part in terms of addressing the most effective response.
Earthquakes can happen at any time. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with the heat. Are you prepared?
What we all need to do is have our preparedness kits ready, just as you would for a hurricane. And this needs to be done year-round. So you need to have your kit with medical supplies. If you are in need of medicine, you have those medications on hand. And general things such as painkillers. You need to have water supply to last you a few days, as well as food that may not require cooking.
Stay prepared.
Disasters do happen. Therefore, our preparedness is key. The recent 5.6 magnitude earthquake felt on the island reminds us of the need to keep up to date on safety procedures during the quake and what to do after. In this next segment, we'll look at how the capital parish responded to Monday's shock and the municipality's major focus going forward. But first, how prepared are our utility companies?
We did have the shaking impacting a couple of generating units as well as a substation, but that is a part of the system protection that we have in place. The way the grid is organized is so that if there is a significant impact on the system, whether it's from an earthquake or something external like something falling on a particular piece of equipment, it is engineered to shut down, to protect itself, and once crews are able to assess that it is now safe for it to continue operating, then we do that. So initially, a number of persons would have been out, mostly in the corporate area, but a few as well, out of town, St. Catherine, Manchester. The ones that were out of town were restored in a matter of minutes. In Kingston, however, they were restored on a phased basis. And so in about roughly 3 hours, everyone was finally put in. So they came on in waves, so to speak. We have what we call our emergency operating committee, which is constantly online in terms of detecting emergencies of any kind, whether it be earthquakes, hurricanes, or anything else that could interrupt business continuity.
We have a robust business continuity plan, and that includes preparation for earthquakes, hurricane, everything. Now, we had the network, the congestion free, I want to say in less than 2 hours, right? Whilst you were unable to maybe call out directly, we were able to send messages, we were able to use WhatsApp, just the same text messages. So we are able to communicate. As a result of our commercial power outage, we have our standby generators and our battery supply that were fully oiled, fully powered up, and we're able to run them right throughout.
Moving forward, we have some issues to deal with concerning the subsea cables that you mentioned earlier. Off-island capacity and the capability to connect and to have redundancy is of extreme importance. By redundancy, we mean just backup, just in case something happens to one cable, we're able to switch over to another and to keep Jamaica connected. We've learned some lessons from this quake. Certainly operating the greenest building in the Caribbean, sitting right there on the Kingston waterfront, it did sway with the waves generated by the earthquake, but the building is fine. A text message is a very small amount of utilization on the network. So when you're trying to make a traditional voice call, for example, or a call using WhatsApp or any of those social media apps, you're using more bandwidth. You will find it even more challenging to make those types of calls when everybody is trying to utilize the network at the same time. A good old text message still works. So I'd recommend to customers that no issue in just resorting to say, "Are you okay?" You get a response, "Yes, I'm good, we'll talk later," right? Uses up very little of the network resources, and it frees it up now for first responders, for example.
Kingston and St. Andrew, I would say after the earthquake, there is a process, a priority process that was outlined by the Most Honorable Prime Minister. We first had to address that. And so we assisted the NAA and the fire, Jamaica Fire Brigade and other agencies. But on our own, we still check a few critical institutions. There were some hospitals that we had to go. The St. Joseph Field Hospital had reported cracks and issues there, and so our engineering team went there. We did check, and we were quite satisfied. So they were told that they could reopen the facility. We are checking other critical institutions. And we are also checking schools. We have concerns about just based on age and so forth. We are also collecting data because it's important to collect data on what has occurred across the municipality. We are also reaching out to just residents across the municipality to report, to make reports of anything that happened with their structures. We are also interested in the multi-family development. So that would be, for us, critical information. With respect to landslides, we had several landslides in the rural sections of the municipality, major landslides in the Kintyre division, that's in East Rural St. Andrew. And we have concerns there to date. And we have invited Mines and Geology and other agencies to visit with us and assess the situation. There are some areas there that we are still concerned that might be unstable, and we could get further action in terms of falling boulders and so forth, and further landslides. We need to continue to review building codes, in particular as they relate to earthquakes. What we would want is that there's a constant review of international building codes, especially in earthquakes, in cities that are prone to earthquakes, and see if we can incorporate. We are pleased that the infrastructure of the city stood, and so I would say let's continue to fine-tune our building codes, and so that our infrastructure can withstand anything that is ahead of us.
It's time again for the JIS Heritage Photo Competition. Are you a tertiary level student? Compose a photo on the theme Echoes of Freedom, tracing Jamaica's path from colonialism to republic, and make your best submission. Lots of prizes to be won. Visit jis.gov.jm for competition guidelines. Registration is still open. Deadline extended until Sunday, November 5 at midnight. The JIS Heritage Photo Competition 2023. Enter today.
Besides ensuring that our buildings and other infrastructure remain intact after an earthquake, do you know what safety precautions to take as individuals? Watch this next feature to learn more about earthquake preparedness.
The main thing for an earthquake is to ensure that you're protecting your most vital parts of your body, and one of that is your head. So we speak to the fact that you drop, cover, and hold. You get under something very sturdy, wooden table, not glass. You cover, which is to cover your head, and you hold in order for you not to be shaken off your feet. So that is in the immediate. Once you're in the building, Immediately after the shake is over, you have to, as quickly as possible, evacuate the building. So you get into an assemble area, and this is where, especially for offices and schools, this is where you start to check to ensure that all your personnel are there. We also speak to having a warden system. So companies, schools should ensure that they have floor wardens. These persons should be so trained and equipped where they can check the facility. You check to ensure that everyone would have evacuated the building. You have to check to ensure that you don't have any ruptured pipes, you don't have gas leaking and all these things too. This is just to ensure that you might not have these secondary occurrences such as fires and your hazardous material leaks. So these are some of the procedures that persons should employ in an earthquake during the immediate shake and after the shake. For businesses, it is essential that you have your continuity planning procedures. So your team should be trained in terms of your emergency requirements, general emergency requirements. So you treat with staff, or you ensure that persons are safe during the quake, or you ensure that persons are safe after the quake. A major quake, you can have a tremor going up to sometimes 30 seconds, beyond 30 seconds. It depends on the magnitude and severity. And sometimes 10 seconds can seem like a lifetime. So it's important to ensure that you are doing your emergency planning procedures and you constantly have your drills. So it becomes second nature, or as I always love to say at the odd time, it becomes nature.
In terms of our preparedness, we need to understand that we have earthquakes almost every day. They're always happening here in Jamaica, and there is nowhere on the island that you can go to escape an earthquake. So what persons need to bear in mind is that earthquakes can happen at any time. There is no season for earthquakes. It has nothing to do with the weather. It has nothing to do with the heat. It can just happen like that. Port Royal's earthquake was in July. The 1907 Kingston earthquake was in January. So there is no specific time of year.
There are innate capabilities that we train our health care workers and the team members that constitute the health system to be able to provide care. So part of what we do is to engage with the team members through regular and systematic training to ensure a constant level of awareness of the likelihood and threat that may be faced, the required skill sets to manage in what would be a very complex and confusing situation, the necessity to ensure that we can communicate at different levels and with different team members. And so we do regular training on a routine basis to manage mass casualty situations, which can easily overwhelm even our regular capabilities. And if necessary, we have to set up our medical care facilities outside of what would have been our normal healthcare facilities.
One of the key assets that we have is our disaster assistance response teams, what we call DART teams, that are prioritizing three priorities. Priority one being those that are ready and for immediate notice to move to assist in any disaster situation. That element is constituted by a number of different specialty areas: engineers, medicals, medical personnel, logisticians, etc. They are so equipped that they can be moved to anywhere in the island and be self-sufficient for a period of time in assisting ODPEM or the government of Jamaica in general with any disaster.
We would be required to ensure that the area or areas affected are properly cordoned and secured. We'd have to ensure that routes leading to and from our major hospitals are clear. or to provide information as to the clearest and safest routes to and from those hospitals, and ensure that they are maintained in a safe manner for the emergency units to respond. Assist the search and rescue in respect to ensuring that persons leave the building safely and go to a safe area away from the building. Ensure that those who would want to seize the opportunity to commit crimes such as looting don't get that opportunity.
It's time again for the JIS Heritage Poster Competition. Are you a secondary level student? Design a digitally or illustrated poster on the theme Echoes of Freedom, tracing Jamaica's path from colonialism to republic. Let's see your best design. Lots of prizes to be won. Visit jis.gov.jm for competition guidelines. Registration is still open. Deadline extended until Sunday, November 5 at midnight. The JIS Heritage Poster Competition 2023. Enter today.
This is where we leave you on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be here on this station tomorrow for more information you can use to transform your life. Until then, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.